Okay, so this is the video that accompanies the Joy Plate set that you've ordered. Thank you very much. Had a fantastic response to the photo of the plate that I put up a little while ago when I painted this the first time round. It really is a gorgeous Christmas piece. I'm sorry I couldn't get the video out a little bit earlier. It's obviously been manic. So if you do decide to do this as a Christmas project over the festive season, obviously just bring it in to us as soon as you can when we reopen in the new year, and we'll get it fired for you. It's quite a wintry piece, so I'm sure you can get away with it for January anyway, but otherwise you'll look forward to bringing it out every year, and I know that you get loads of compliments on it. So I'm not going to go through what's in your kit because obviously that's all written in your instructions and it's just boring listening to me waffle on, but it's a good idea maybe before we start just to have a read through. I'm sure you have, just as a general guide. I like to watch a video and do a paint along because I think sometimes it can be a bit confusing when you're reading the instructions, but actually visual is always helpful. So I hope you do enjoy the project. Remember, you can obviously pause and dip out if you need to. I'll be pausing along the ways to give time for people to catch up. The first thing that I have done, and there is a little note in your pack to say that you might want to do this before you start the video, using your white underglaze. You'll notice I've marked all the pots with the relevant colours for you, so it's nice and easy. The white underglaze, I just want you to coat your Joy Plate twice for me, so 2 layers, but only on the top. So take account of the rim, paint that as well. Using your lovely soft fan brush, you just want to brush stroke two layers. So pop your first layer on, not too thick. You want to make sure you're covering it completely because this is the bit that will make your plate watertight. So this is the actual glaze. When it comes back to me, normally when you do paint at home, it comes back in for me to dip glaze for you, but I won't be glazing this. You're doing the whole lot yourself, okay? So it's really important that you don't have any little bits that are missing glaze because water will get in. So make sure you've sealed it properly. 1 coat, I've already done mine, so because I wanted to be ready just to show you the next step. So 1 coat, let it dry, and then you're ready to do your second coat. And you'll notice it's drying as you're doing it, and it dries so quickly. So it feels a little bit chalky, but when you can touch it and it leaves no residue, you know it's dry. So the first thing we need to do is to get our Joy pattern on the plate. So in your kit, you will have a piece of paper with your pattern on, okay? So what you need to do, what I've done is I've cut out the different sections of it. So the first thing I started with was Joy. I'm going to pop that on the centre of the plate. So you're basically just doing a little jigsaw to see where it's all going to fit. If you need to cut them down even smaller, that's fine because obviously our plate isn't as big as this. So you might need to cut out each part of the image. So cut around like this and actually place it down, depending on where you want it. In fact, that's what I'm going to do with this one. I'm just going to cut this piece out like this, and then I'm going to make a little jigsaw going around. So once you've, whether you can see, just hold this up a little bit. See what I'm doing? So I'm basically just popping the pattern down, and when you're happy that you've got enough room for everything to be placed as you want it, you need to take it off. What I'd like you to do is grab your sheet of carbon paper. There is a little green stamp just on this corner here that tells you which way up it is, which is helpful because you don't want to do all this work with it the wrong way around. Mine is a little bit scabby because I've used it before, but you've got a nice new piece in your kit. So just place it down onto your plate like this with the green stamp facing upwards. And this is effectively a carbon transfer paper, so it's like tracing paper, and you'll be able to trace your design onto the plate. So if I'm going to start with the Joy bit because that's obviously going to go in the middle. You can lift it up, the carbon up, just to make sure that you have gone central because you don't want a wonky Joy. I prefer to use a pen. Some people use a pencil for this job, but I find I get better results from a pen. So all you need to do, obviously you've got the Joy stencil on top of your carbon. I just want you to go over the lines now with your pen and you can just move it gently just to double check that it is coming out on the plate. Again, if I just lift this up for you to see. Videoing is not my strong point, but obviously I just wanted to get some of these tutorials out for you. Can you see I've got a line there? So that's basically the effect it's going to have now when we get our design on. So go all the way along till you've got the whole word on there. It's really important not to move. You kind of want to hold it with one hand, just so that you've only got one line on there. When you look at your plate in a minute and you can see the lines, don't worry about them too much because they will burn away. They are just purely your guidelines. Do all sorts of things with carbon transfer paper. Kids love it for like character plates and things like that. So if they've got a favourite, I don't know, Fortnite character, or they're into their Pokemon or anything like that, or the girls with their Disney princesses, then you can obviously print out a picture that fits whatever you want to paint. So whether it's their own dinner plate or a mug or something like that, and you can actually carbon transfer the design on and use that then for painting, which is nice. So if anybody fancies a carbon transfer project, do let me know because I can certainly help you with that. Okay, so my joy is on. So, as you can see, here we go. So I've got my outline for joy. Now what I'm going to do next is get all of these little bits of my jigsaw on. So obviously I've got my leaves, etc., which need to go just as a border around the plate. So using my carbon transfer, I'm just going to do one piece at a time and make sure that it's all connecting. I think I will leave you for a minute actually, because it's going to take a little bit of time and you don't particularly want to just be looking at me tracing pictures onto the plate. There is obviously a copy of the finished plate in your instructions, so if you want to have that as a guide just to see what goes where. But in all honesty, this is your plate, so it doesn't really matter where you put the relevant bits. It's all going to still be really colourful in the end. So yeah, I'm gonna leave you get on with that and getting all of your detail around the edge, and then I'll come back to you for the next step. Okay, see you in a minute. Okay, so how is that? Anybody move the paper? It can be so frustrating when you do. So I've gone a little bit, well, I've just done my own thing really. I wasn't too worried about following the pattern. I just wanted to make sure, I hope you can see on there, I just wanted to make sure that obviously I'd filled it all the way around on the outside. I think you can see that. And obviously then the word in the middle. So if you press nice and hard, you should have some really clear visible lines now that you're going to follow, which is great. So the first thing we're going to do, remember I said to you that the white underglaze is basically your sealant, so it will seal your plate and make it food safe. Probably wouldn't dishwasher it though, because obviously it's going to be far too special and too precious for that. I would definitely wash it by hand. So the first thing you want to do, I want to make sure, I don't want to repaint this joy, I want to make sure that the white glaze underneath comes through and it's not affected by any other painting. So we're going to use a product called Wax Resist. It's really important that you don't get this anywhere else on your plate, because what's going to happen, the Wax Resist will do exactly what it just said. It's going to resist any paint that we put on. So once we've put that on the joy, if you then get paint on there, it's going to come away. So you don't want to get it anywhere else. You need the tiniest little smidge, and that's why you're probably looking in your pot thinking, gosh, she's tight, she hasn't given me much. Obviously this is one of the original bottles. You really don't need a lot at all. And the reason it's in a separate bottle rather than you using a palette is, again, it's a pain to wash out of the palette. You don't want to mix it up with other paint that you've got there. So I just put a little drop into my palette. You're going to need to go and give your brush a really good clean after you've used the wax resist, nice warm soapy water. Okay, so what you need to do is you are just dipping your brush. Now I'm using a nice long round brush. I've given you a little selection of brushes, which please bring back, because otherwise it makes these kits really expensive for me if I've got to replace the brushes. So if you would just bring them back to me once you when you bring your plate in for firing, that would be lovely. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to have to turn it into the light so that I can see where I'm going. But you're just literally painting the word joy with the wax resist, and you can see there that little line that I've just added. It's quite shiny, so as long as you've got a good light in, you'll be able to see that going on. And I just want you just to go all over. Try not to go outside your lines, because obviously if you do that, you're not going to be able to cover around the outside of the wording with any paint, because the paint's just going to come off. You know, don't stress if you go a little bit outside. I just did. So I'm now making my J a little bit wider. But, you know, this is all part of the fun. It's your plate. Even if you did another one straight after this, which some of you will have to because your friend's going to love it. I'm doing this as a present, actually, because obviously I've already got one. So this is going to be a gift. And I'm just painting a couple of coats, really, just going back over. Here we go. Doing this has also enabled me to work out how much product I need to give you in each kit as well, because that was hard. It's all right for me when I've got the big bottles here that I can go and grab extra from. So it's been really handy actually just to be able to measure it all out and make sure that what you're getting is enough for you to complete your projects. There we are. Yours should be looking something like that now. I know that's upside down, but that's kind of the effect that you're going to be getting. So again, I think it's very boring just having me sat here quietly doing this. So if I just hit the pause button, and we'll all come back together once the complete word has been waxed. All right, I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so we're all back. And as you can see, I have waxed all of the word joy onto the middle of the plate. So what we're going to do now, we're going to use a few different colours. You might have had a sneaky look in your instructions already. There are 3 colours that I want you to use for this next bit. Again, you've got little pots, so you don't necessarily need to have a palette. I find it just as easy to work in the pots, but I'm going to put my colours into the palette. So we want some white. You want your bottle of white, your bottle or pot, I should say, of grey hair, and also, as in the animal hair, not grey hair. And then we want silver lining as well, so you should have a little pot with silver lining on. So let's have all of those out and ready. You also need to get your sponge handy. Okay. Now, with this bit, you've just kind of got to be a bit brave, because there's no going back from it, really, because we can't start washing off. Remember, you've got your underglaze at the bottom, so no pressure. But what I want you to do, so using grey hair, that's the darker of the 2 greys. I just want you to load your sponge. Okay. And then I want you to sponge over the word joy. So you're just literally going, like I am, around the very close outline. Don't want to go too far out, because we're going to do a bit of blending in a minute. There we are. And as you can see, what's happened there is where we've got our wax resist, it's doing exactly that. It's resisting the paint that I'm putting over the top, which is exactly what we want it to do. So I'm loading a little bit more grey here just because I didn't have quite enough to go up here. I'm trying not to touch the design going around the edge, because it's really hard. If you start covering that with grey, you're going to find it hard to see the design. So don't bother washing your sponge, just load it up now with your silver lining, which is the lighter shade of grey. And they're not right in the centre, because the idea is obviously around, you want like a shadow effect really around your word. So I'm kind of starting a little bit further out. I am going to end up covering some of my my detail, I think, but it's unavoidable. And I'm popping a bit on, just kind of overlapping here. So it's a bit of a messy look. Don't panic. There we go. And then with your white, you're just sort of going around the very outer part of it, really, blending in a bit. You see? Oh, I've gone over my holly. Remember where that is. There we are. So you've got 2 shades of grey and the white just on the outside as an outline. Right. Now what I'd like you to do, bowl of water. I washed my brush while we were paused actually. I just used some hand soap and water just to get the wax off. And I've got some kitchen roll underneath my plate that I can just get the excess water off. What I'd like you to do is go over the letters, over your joy letters. I realise this is upside down for you guys, sorry. Dip in your water, dry off on your brush. And I just want you to get this paint off the letters. Okay, you're not going to rub the wax off, so don't panic. Once that's on, it's on. That's why I was saying you need to be a little bit careful about where it goes. Yeah. Can you see what I'm doing? You can see it's a lot clearer now. Obviously you don't want to be getting rid of the paint around the edge, so you have to be a little bit careful. That's why a little precision brush is good for this job. Here we are, see the difference in that there and the rest of my letters? So just keep at it, keep cleaning all the wax off. Clean all the paint off your wax. Don't need a great deal of water, to be honest. And the excess you need to get off on your tissue. Just checking you can see me because I get carried away. I need to get a bit better at videos, but hopefully this will give you the general idea. And I still think it's better than just working from an instruction sheet, because you get to see it, and you're probably thinking, what the hell's carbon paper? What does wax resist do? So at least now you can see. So look, you've got a nice clear J. I'm going to go around the rest of it. I'm really enjoying my painting lately. We are currently day 10 of self-isolation. The girls have had, they both tested positive for COVID, and even though the rest of us haven't, obviously we're all at home, so it's actually given me a chance to work on a few lovely projects. Crystal glazing, I've done quite a bit of crystal glazing over the last few days. Tried some new colours, and I've been promising to do this workshop for my friend Kath, because she loved my plate. This is who this is for. She doesn't know. I've been promising to do the tutorial video so that she can make herself one in time for Christmas. So I think she's already given up on the fact that she's not going to get one. But with a bit of luck, I'm back to work on Saturday, so I should be able to pop this in for firing actually. How you all doing? Hopefully you are. I'm on my Y now. I know it feels a bit monotonous, but it's definitely a good idea because you will. The wax resist is good, but if you don't get the excess off, you will end up with a really mottly finish. You will get little grey splodges, which you don't want because you want to see that lovely white underglaze coming through. I could have paused you for this, couldn't I? Sorry. I imagine we're all pretty much at the same stage anyway. I think when I will pause it is when we're adding all the detail. I'll tell you what colours to use to finish all your leaves and things. And I'm just going to leave you to enjoy that because it's going to take a little while. Maybe you could pour yourself a glass of something nice. Make a hot chocolate, depending on what evening it is. Weeknight or weekend. Then actually at Christmas they all blend into one really. For me anyway. So what I might do in a minute, because I have just touched in a couple of places. You see it? I have touched up the I touched the grey a little bit in a few places, so I might just, with the tip of my brush, pop a little bit on, just so that the outline of my wording is really crisp. But remember, this is your plate, so you can do whatever you want to do. So what I mean is just here, can you see it? I've got that little bit that comes down there, so I think I'm just going to get some silver lining actually, so it's not quite so obvious. And I'm just going to tickle it with the end of my paintbrush to fill in the gap. So any parts that you think look a bit gappy or your letter's not straight, you can just touch up now. There we go. So I've got Joy and I've got my grey shading. Okay, so the next bit is going to be the detail around the edge. So I'm just pull my brush out. You will have in your kit a little fine liner. I tend to use these for the branches. So you've got a few different things going on here. Let me just get the original picture out so I can see. Yeah, so I'd probably start with your brown. So use your brown, the pot of brown paint that I've given you, and obviously depending on where you've put them, these little twigs, just the twigs that haven't got leaves on, I would paint those brown. And you want to go over it with 2 coats really. So get your first coat on and then go over a second time, just so that it's nice and bright. Obviously you've got your red holly spots here, so just swirling your brush in between colours. For the holly, let me just remind myself what colours, because there's so many different colours in here. So yeah, you've got your brown for your branches, and then so the holly then is the green thumb, because you've got 3 greens going on here, and the wax resist is green as well. So there's four pots of green. So you want to have green thumb for your holly. You've got your hot tamale for your red. It's probably best, obviously, rather than trying to remember what I said, these are actually listed in your instructions, so you'll be able to see which colours I've used for which. Now, the way that I've done my leaves, are quite cute. I've kind of dipped, so these are these fat leaves going around, so not the holly, just these fat ones just at the bottom. Can you see these ones? What I've done is I've double dipped my paintbrush. So one side of the brush is the jaded colour, and then the other side is army surplus. It's two lovely contrast colours, and they work really well. It's up to you whether you want to do this or you just want to choose maybe to do some leaves the jaded colour, some leaves the army surplus. I really love the effect it got when I loaded half of my brush with one colour and the other half with the other, and I basically placed it down. So let me just give you a little demo on that, because the other bits are fairly straightforward. You can obviously just you can just follow the colours that I've given you to get all your colours on your holly, your leaves, your branches and your berries. So I've got, I need army surplus and jaded. So this is what I used on the original plate for my leaves. So I'm just going to show you what I mean. So it's quite a cute effect. I probably, before you dive in and do it on your plate, you could just do it onto maybe the back of one of your stencils. Unless you want to keep, you might want to do this again. Anyway, let's do it onto the kitchen paper. So I've got my two colours. I've got my jaded and I got my army surplus. So I just did one side and then the other side, okay, and then down on the paper I kind of, can you see? There we go. So just basically pop the two down and I just flicked, and that kind of gives the effect of your leaf. So it's up to you. Could actually grab some spare paper if you want to and just practice your leaf technique before you actually pop it down on your plate. If you're not happy, if you're looking at it thinking, oh god, this could go so wrong, then you might just want to stick to, you could just do a contrast of leaves. So you could do a few of them in the jaded colour, you could do a few in the army surplus, or you could even just add a little bit of colour over the top to mix them later on. But I really like the effect that has on there, look, with the blended leaves. So that's just a little something for you to have a play around with. So I'm going to leave you to decorate your plate now. Remember, 2 coats, so once you've done your coat of greens, browns and reds, then it'll be dry enough for you to go over and do again. So I'll pause now because this is going to take quite a bit of time. I'm going to pour myself a drink as well so that I can enjoy just relaxing, put some music on maybe, get in the Christmas spirit, and I will see you in a minute. Right, so how did you get on? I really enjoyed that. It was just half an hour of peace and quiet. I definitely think I need to go over probably my brown, just my branches, because I want them to be quite dark, so I'm going to give them another coat in a minute. But have you got something similar to this? Doesn't really matter if it doesn't look anything like that. Like I say, it's your plate. I definitely haven't stuck to the lines. If you look closely, you can see where my carbon is, and I've just completely ignored it and done my own thing. But that's fine too, as long as you've got the designer's fitted on fine. Oh, that's fine. It's my plate, well, it's not as Kat's plate, so I'm sure she's going to love it. So, a couple of things that we've got left to do. So I'm just going to run over those with you quickly. But you've probably still got about half an hour or so left to go on this, plus any cleanup. I mean, what I'd quite like to do, because obviously it's not on the stencils as such, but in the holly I want to put some veins in the holly, and I think I might just add a little bit more shade into my leaves. So yeah, you can definitely eke this out and make this a whole evening project, because there's so much detail on here that you can tidy up and add to. But just a couple of things what I did with mine is I fancied having quite a dark grey rim. So again, we're using grey here. You don't have to do this. If you want to just keep it white, that's absolutely fine. You do what you want to do. But I am going to, there it is, find the grey hair from my palette. I use a sponge to pop the rim around the edge. So I'm not being fussy about washing my sponge because obviously it's only got the lighter grey on there anyway at the moment. And I am just going to dab my way around the rim. I'm going to do 2 coats. So once you've gone all the way around, just need to go again to make sure you've got a nice dark border. So it will look something like this. You can see just going around the edge. So I'm going to carry on and go all the way around with that. But before I do that, I just want to add a little bit of a snow effect. So I'm going to get my cottontail. So you had a pot of white and you've got a pot of cottontail. So it's cottontail that I'm going to use for this because it just stands out a little bit against the white. Okay, so with your brush, load it up with cottontail. Oh, this is a bit scary. And you just splatter in like this. Nothing is happening. Nothing's happening. Oh yeah, that's gone right in my wax resist. So that's going to come off in a minute. So that's not working for me today. Oh, here we go. So actually, I don't like that because it's just landed in my holly. Basically, the last time I did it, I sort of went like this, and we had lovely little white splatters all over the plate. But I've just decided that I don't like that option. If it's working for you, brilliant. It might just be the brush that I've chosen. So I'm just gonna, with a wet brush, I'm just gonna scoop those little blobs back off, and I'm gonna put them on manually. The nice thing about the splatter is obviously it's not precise and it's random, a bit like snow, because snow is very random. Sorry, I'm just filling in my holly berry that I ruined with my splatter. It's good for things to go wrong though, isn't it? And I'm going to get that off my O, which is nice and easy because obviously the wax resist didn't like it anyway. Right, so I'm going to use the end of my thin paintbrush, and I'm just going to, if I show you, oh, I got too much stuff on this table. And I'm just literally, but go back each time because then your spots are kind of like the same colour. So I'm going to add a bit like on the leaves and things just to make it look like it's snowed on them, because that's quite cute. You can do as much or as little of this as you like. And then what I'm going to do is I'm not going to go back and forth my palette for the last few because it changes the size of the spots. Let's have a bit on that leaf. I mean, yeah, you don't really want to overdo it because I just missed a holly leaf. Glad I did that. The holly berry. Let's put that little berry on. And now I've decided that because of where I put that berry, I don't want that bit of snow. So it's nice and easy just to take off with a wet brush. Just be careful not to take your base layer off. Right, okay, I'm happy with that. I feel like I've got enough snow, maybe a little bit more. This is the trouble. When you feel like your plate is finished, for goodness sake, go and put it away. Go and put it somewhere that you can't see it, because otherwise you'll be at it all night. You'll just think, oh, I'll put another bit of that here and I'll go over that. And honestly, less is more. sometimes. Okay, so this is what we've got. Some little snow drops on, you can see. So what I'm going to do now to finish the project and complete and say goodnight to you all is I'm going to get that rim all the way round. So you're using your grey hair if you want to. Silver lining is going to be too light, I think. So get 2 layers of your grey hair just by dabbing with your sponge around the edge. Again, you don't need to be precise, but just doing it really gently means that you won't go too far in. There we are. So I'm going to carry on doing that, and then all that's left to do, I would leave the front of your plate dry for a little while, maybe even overnight, and then just do this last little bit tomorrow. You need to glaze the back of your plate, so you're going to be using your white underglaze, the same one as we did for the front, but you're just going to be using the back. And you can see here, look, where you need to come up and meet your grey. You don't want any little holes in your glaze, because like I say, when you're washing it and using it, the water's going to get into your plate, which would be a real shame because it will cause cracking. Please don't dishwasher it. I know that it can be, that all of the products we've used are dishwasher safe, but I wouldn't, because they're just too precious. And obviously I'm absolute rubbish at loading a dishwasher. So if I'm anything to go by, I know that I would end up chipping it and then the water gets in and then it's ruined your pride and joy. So yeah, so that's what you've got to do. Finish your rim if you're doing one, and then you need to tomorrow or in a few hours time, if you've done this as a morning project, just get 2, actually make it 3, just to be absolutely sure. 3 layers of, using your fan brush, 3 layers of the white underglaze on the back for me. We'll obviously fire this for you, so just bring it back in as soon as you're ready. Make sure that you do carefully wrap it in some tissue or some bubble wrap, and also make sure that your return slip is in there so that I know whose plate it is, because it would be a real shame if I didn't know who it was after it came out of the kiln. So return slip back to me. Please return all of your brushes. I would also be grateful if you probably haven't really got much use for the pots and things, because there won't be enough in there to do another project. So if you're happy to return all of the paint pots to me, that's great, because we can recycle them. And any brushes, yeah, basically send it all back. That would be super. I really, really hope you've enjoyed it. I always feel a bit waffly when I'm doing videos because I'm kind of thinking as I'm going, but I'm hoping that you'll agree that just like a visual is much easier than just reading off a sheet. So I really, really look forward to seeing your plates. Obviously, if anybody wants one as a gift, then feel free to order another set. You can you made. You've got gift ideas for lots of people now. So yes, thank you ever so much. If it's not Christmas already, then Merry Christmas. I hope you have a fabulous time. If Christmas has been and gone, then there's always next year. So look after yourselves. See you soon. Thanks.